Today, we are going to learn about a people called the Nasarima. And what you're going to need to do, please, is to open up your social studies notebook that I just assigned you today. And it's exactly like your student notebook, but now it is going to be, I just gave you a new one called the social studies notebook, and you can take notes in there for the entire year. So on the side, on the first tab, I think it's called Archaeology / Early Humans, or ARCH / EH. Go ahead and click on that. And then you're going to need to double click on your notebook so that you can actually write in the notebook. If you would like to take notes, you absolutely can. If you think it's better to just listen and go back if you need to listen, you may do that as well, because this lesson will be available to you. So you may take notes in your social studies book under Archaeology / Early Humans, or you can just simply listen. So the Nasarima were people that were discovered not too long ago in the 1900s, and they were discovered by a man named Horace Minor. So who were the Nasarima? The Nasarima were a North American group living in the territory between the Canadian Creole, the Yaqui, the Tarahumare of Mexico, and the Carib and Arawak of the Antilles. If you're a little confused, that's okay, it will be explained. So here are some characteristics. Some people, like all cultures, including our own, would find differences that we might find interesting, unique, or even strange to us. So as you're listening to the characteristics of the Nasarima, I would like you to try to see what characteristics are similar to ours and what are different. And we're going to discuss that today after you're done watching this. So they had a highly developed market economy, and much of the people's time was specifically devoted just to making money. A large part of their time was spent in ritual activity, and that's often the case with any civilization or culture. The focus of the ritualistic activity was the human body. The appearance of their body was a major concern for their society. And this is how they saw the human body. Basically, the human body to them is so ugly in its natural state, it is almost like a disability or a disease to them. So man's only hope is to avoid these characteristics through the use of powerful influences, such as ritual and ceremony, according to them. Okay. How? Here is how they practice their rituals. Every single household had one or more shrines devoted to the human body. A shrine is a place in which devotion is paid. The more powerful the individuals in the society, they have several of those shrines in their houses. The wealth of a house was often referred to in terms of the number of such ritual centers they had. So the more shrines a person had, the richer that he or she was. So if you had one shrine compared to 10, the person who had 10 was much wealthier. Most homes were made of wattle and daub, but the shrine rooms of the more wealthy were walled with stone. So try to picture this. I purposely didn't put pictures here because I want you to try to envision this in your mind. And of course, I'm going to go over this again with you as soon as we're done. So the rituals that the Nasarima participated in were always private inside the shrine. So the rituals were not family ceremonies. They were always private and always secret. And basically the rituals with these people were only discussed with children, pretty young children actually, not your age. By the time you're your age, it was not discussed any longer. I would say probably age 1 to 4, maybe 5. And only during the period which they are being initiated. The focal point of the shrine was a box or a chest, which was usually built into the wall. Inside the shrine box were kept many charms and magical potions. These magical potions and charms were created by medicine men. They decided what the ingredients should be and then wrote them down in an ancient and secret language. The medicine men create these potions only if you give them a gift. So if you're feeling ill, you can go see a medicine man. They will create a magical potion, which you keep in your shrine, and you have to give them a gift. That's what that basically means. This is again for the Nasarima. They also had herbalists, and the writing from the medicine men was only understood by the herbalists. The medicine men and the herbalist, who for another gift provide the required charm. The magic potions and charms were never really thrown away after they served its purpose. So they would keep them in the shrine even after they had so many that it was overflowing. The Nasarima had so many magical potions that they actually would forget what they were for. And then they'd fear to use them again. Like if they didn't know exactly what the magical potion was for, they'd become scared and not want to use it, even though they kept them. In the Nasarima culture, there was a stone right beneath the charm box. So near the charm box was a small stone. Each day, every single member of the family, one at a time, would enter, bow his head before the charm box, and then mingle sorts of holy water in the stone. They also had a community water temple, as well as so they had something called holy mouth men. They were considered slightly less important than the medicine men, but still important. And they were specialists called holy mouth men. And the rituals of the mouth were performed in an elaborate ritual at least once a day inside of the shrine. So again, try to imagine what this looks like in your head. And the Nasarima feared that if they did not perform this ritual daily, that their teeth would fall out, their gums would bleed, their jaws would shrink, their friends would desert them, and their loves reject them. They also had a bundle of hair and magic potions ritual. So the daily body ritual, a mouth rite, they would insert this small bundle of hog's hairs into their mouth, along with certain magical powders, and then moving the bundle in a highly formalized series of gestures. These practitioners have an impressive set of tools consisting of a variety of probes and prods. These are the holy mouth men. The use of these items in the exorcism of the evils of the mouth involves almost unbelievable ritual torture of the client. The holy mouth men would open the client's mouth and now remember, this sounds like torture, but the people involved all did it willingly, okay? The holy mouth men would open the client's mouth and using the above mentioned tools enlarges any holes which decay may have created in the teeth. Magical materials were put into the holes. If there was no naturally occurring holes in the teeth, large sections of one or more teeth are gouged out so that the supernatural substance can be applied. There's also this special ritual that was only performed by men, not women. And the ritual consisted of scraping and lacerating the surface of the man's face with a sharp instrument. And again, we will learn all about why afterwards. Okay, and here's a ritual that was performed only by women. And this was performed usually 4 times. It says a month, but it might have been 4 times a year. As part of the ceremony, women would bake their heads in small ovens for about an hour. A latipso is where medicine men have something called a latipso in every single community, and it doesn't matter what size community. In the Nasarima communities, everyone had a latipso. The more elaborate ceremonies were required to treat the very sick patients. So the latipso was for very, very sick people only. You could go see the medicine men, but if you're very sick, you'd go to the latipso. Letipso ceremonies were so hard, that is where you go to die. Despite this fact, sick adults are not only willing, but eager to undergo the protracted ritual purification if they can afford to do so. So they would go to the Letipso if it was possible, because it was actually a really expensive ceremony. No matter how ill or no matter how grave the emergency, there were guardians at many of those temples, the Letipsos, that would not allow a sick person to enter if he could not give a very, very, very rich gift. So I want you to pause and think about what you feel about that. That even if you were really, really sick, there were guards that wouldn't allow you to come in unless you had a very, very big gift to give the Letipso. Sometimes they would insert magical wands into the ill person's mouth or force him to eat substances which are supposed to be healing. From time to time, the medicine men come and jab magically treated needles into their flesh.